hello, 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 beautiful people of the world. Welcome to the Happy Conversation Idea Show, where you can witness thoughts, ideas, and stories of the happiest people. And today I have a very, very, very special guest today here, and his name is Mr. Don Green. He's not only my mentor and a good friend, but he is the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Yes, you heard right, Napoleon Hill Foundation. Well, Napoleon Hill principles are almost like looks like over a century right now. The greatest speaker of the world and author who has adopted his principles is not less than Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Earl Nightingale, Jim Rohn, Mr. All these phenomenal authors, speakers, personal development coaches has adopted this principle at some shape or form, and they agreed on their verbal seminars and workshop, and I have witnessed too. But now we have this one of the profound time we got today. We have opportunity to talk to Dr. Green. Don Green, sorry. Don Green is the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. So I welcome Don Green to the Happy Conversation Idea Show.
Thank you very much. I enjoy this. You know, I have a passion for what I do because, you know, at my age, most people would have retired many years ago when they reached financial success. That seems to be a goal, a lot of people to retire. I have no intentions of retiring.
Okay. That's great. You're so humble and kind. And this is one of the greatest sign of a successful and humble personality, that if you even retire, but you still keep working. Now, you've been interviewed for thousands and thousands of times for decades. And I know that, but today we want to start with you. Please tell us about your journey, your adversities and defeats, and how you become so successful. Please share about that.
Okay. Now where you want to start, but I was born in the mountains of Southwest Virginia, and it's a coal mining area. A lot of poverty existed for many years. Lack of education, lack of roads, transportation, so forth for many years. My mom was one of 16 children. Her mother died when she was 8 years old. The father never remarried. But back then, the boys would go to work in the coal mines underground, even early as age 12, 13 years old. There was no labor laws to protect them. And my dad went to work at 14 in the coal mines, and the girls would get married. You know, that was kind of a way out at early ages. It was nothing for them to get married at 13 or 14. And my dad was from a large family also, and they grew up during the Depression. My mother was born in 2021, my dad in 1917. So they were married and grew up in the Depression, and they had a 7th grade education. I asked my mother once, why did y'all just go to 7th grade? That's as far as the teacher went, was the 7th grade. There was no other schools around. There was no school buses. You know, they would have had to go someplace else. And so they just went to work. Even in Hill's day, when Hill was born, there was no requirement to go to school. His father thought, go to work. School wasn't mandatory, and it was only open for 3 or 4 months a year. Them working on the family farm was more important than going to school. So it was never emphasized. Of course, in Hill's place, his mother died. He was before he was 9, and his dad remarried, and she happened to be a school teacher, the widow of a high school principal, and a daughter of a doctor. So education was very important. So that was his salvation. She stressed education. But myself was growing up like that. I grew up without running water in the house. We never had indoor plumbing. But other people all around us live the same way. So I guess got a bathroom when I was in high school. The first bathroom we'd built a house and with a bathroom in it. So, but books were important to me, and I saw education was. And just something told me that the coal miners, underground coal miners at the time that I'm talking about, they had a life expectancy of 20 years less than other men.
Okay.
And so it was very dangerous. There were no labor laws, and men could be replaced real easy. I mean, just get somebody else to come in. And they were wholly dependent on the company. The company owned the company store where they got all their groceries, everything they needed, their clothes and what have you. And they had the company houses. Most of them did. And when they got water, it was the company's water. And when they got telephone, it was the company's telephone.
Okay.
Everything was dependent on the company. But I saw the need for an education at an early age, and I liked to read. And I read successful people, and I read and I read and I read. And I don't mean to be arrogant, but I knew I was going places. Okay, you can say you can you can say dreaming or what you want to, but I knew that I was going places.
Of course.
If somebody said, if these other guys do it, why can't we do it also?
So
And
true.
so education was very, very important to me. We only had a 2-year college, and I attended it. Drove a school bus, pumped
Okay.
gas 75 cents an hour. School bus made $85 a month driving the school bus. And I learned to make money at an early age. Uh,
Wow.
I can remember making $3 when I was 5 years old. It's the
Wow.
biggest $3 I ever saw in my life. My dad was a coal miner, probably making at that time probably maybe $7 or $8 a day. And the men were all outdoorsmen. They dug ginseng. You've heard of ginseng, I know, is a root, and it was expensive. It was even back then. So in their spare time in the summer, they would
Yeah.
the woods. They would hunt ginseng and dig up the roots and sell it. It was sold as a herbal medicine. The Chinese still put a lot of emphasis on it. It's really, really expensive today because it's only a small root. It grows in very obscure places. It's not a lot of it. But Dad showed me another herb, which was called mayapple, that
Okay.
grew along the creeks. And he showed me how to dig it before I ever started to school with a little hoe. And I think it was around 20 cents a pound. And the first time I dug a lot and had to wash the dirt off and dry it before you could sell it. They wouldn't buy it green. And I went with him to a place where they bought the herbs. And
Yep.
he had ginseng and I had the mayapple. And he gave me 3 $1 bills and told me that was my part for my mayapple. And man,
Wow.
was I one happy young man. Didn't have a billfold, but I could count. I counted that $3 hundreds and hundreds of times. So
Exactly.
in the beginnings, it was a necessity. I can remember I was probably 9 or 10 years old, somewhere early age. I found out about the Boy Scouts, and a uniform costs $8. You need $8
Oh,
to get a uniform. And I told my mother, I said, I would like to have $8 to get a Boy Scout uniform so I can go to the Boy Scouts. Oh, and she said, "Oh, honey, we can't waste our money." Said,
oh, wow.
your daddy crawls around in the coal mine. Said he might get hurt, he might get killed, and we can't waste our money. And said, "Won't you mow yards, you uncle? He gives you a quarter, don't he, every time you mow it?" Said, "You got no boys." And I did, and I picked up pop bottles. But that summer, I had more than $8. And
Wow.
but you know what? I didn't want to join the Boy Scouts no more because that was my money. I learned to make money for the absolute necessity. And
Excellent.
then after it would come easier. I learned to make money because I knew I could. And my mind was open for all these other projects. And we don't have enough time to tell all of them. But I cut Christmas trees. My brothers and I sold them. We cut
Wow.
mining timber. We dig holly. We sold stuff out of the garden. And you name it, over and over and over. I was always continuously into things where I could make money. In fact, I had a zoo when I was in high school, and I charged a quarter to get in. I had started off just had snakes, poison
Yes.
snakes, 10 cents for children,
Wow.
and then I bought a black bear off of the Indians down in North Carolina, and I bought some exotic birds and some bobcats. Some people call them wildcats, and some other animals and some exotic birds, and I got little souvenirs and started selling them. Put a little peel off. I ordered little labels. It said Indian Mountain Reptile Garden. You put a little ashtray. That made it a souvenir when you put a little label on it. And
Yes.
you could buy a little ashtray, comical ashtray for a quarter, and sell them for $1. And I just learned to make money. In fact, I had an older brother, and while I was still in high school, I let him have money to buy his first house. I don't mean to pay for the house. I mean to pay down and do the closing on the thing. So
Intelligent.
I had a knack for making money, and it stuck with me.
Excellent. Excellent. Well,
And
this is profound, Don, that you started from scratch with your humble beginning of earning $3, then wanting $8 for those costs. And then you did all that kind of thing, what you can, but you were a born entrepreneur. But I think we all are born, we have all have greatness in us, and we born entrepreneur to win and to succeed. Some people realize in early stage, like you took that initiative, personal initiative, to utilize your intelligence, and you went above and beyond to make what you are today. Well, thanks for sharing your personal story. It was really, really inspiring, and I think it was untold. And we are so glad, and especially I'm so happy that you shared with us. Now, tell Don, did you met Dr. Napoleon Hill in person, and how was your experience and how it started?
no, I never met him in person, but he's from this area. He died in 1970, so he's been dead 50 some years. But I met his relatives, his cousins. I had a historical marker put up in the 90s, and he had 7 or 8 first cousins still living. So when they did the unveiling of the historical marker that I had installed on the highway to honor Dr. Hill's birthplace, they were invited, and they were all there, and it was filmed. It made the news media, and fact is, one of them just died back in June, which is his last surviving first cousin, and he only liked a few weeks of being 102. I interviewed him on his 100th birthday. His name was Glenn, and I interviewed him and I recorded it. I've never shared it, but I did a 30-minute recording on my iPhone, and I gave it to the social media girl. We've never put it out. And of course, Glenn, his son was my best friend and my golfing buddy, and we went through high school and college together. And he remembered Napoleon. He remembered Napoleon come visit his dad, sit on the porch. He's always driving a big car, and he had a couple Rolls Royces. He drove big DeSotas and Oldsmobiles and so forth. Of course, back then, the car was a sign of success. You've got a big car, and so he said he always dressed well, always had a tie on, a little handkerchief in his pocket, and he traveled with a little dog. So he remembered him very well. And of course, we have Napoleon Hill Day. We celebrate his birthday the last Monday in October here at the college, and it's always declared a state Napoleon Hill Day in the state of Virginia by the governor. We have not had it the last 2 years because of the virus, but Glenn Hill, he attended every one of those things. We had about 20 of them, about the last 20 years, and we'd get a noted speaker to come in. We got people like Sharon Lecter and Jim Stovall, Truett Cathy, who founded Chick-fil-A, was a good friend. I guess he was about 90. And I mean, our church, these people all had stories to do with Napoleon Hill. Like Truett Cathy was a good friend. He founded Chick-fil-A. And a teacher gave him Think and Grow Rich in 1937 when he was in high school. He carried that book everywhere he went. And at least 2 newspapers called me when he died. He was worth $6.5 billion. He credits it to the book Think and Grow Rich.
Wow.
So with Sharon Lecter, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and
yes,
edited Outwitting the Devil. She did Think and Grow Rich for Women and 3 Feet from Gold. Sharon's a good friend. She read Think and Grow Rich. She was 19 in college. Yeah. She went on to become a CPA. She came here and spoke, and all those people came because of their connection to Think and Grow Rich. None of them were paid. And some of them are real high-priced speakers, but they came to pay respects to Dr. Hill's.
Fantastic.
Hill's
fantastic.
And had some fabulous stories of how the material affected him.
No, thanks for sharing. This was very important to the world should know that the humble beginning of your life story and then how you started and when you met and all. Now, tell us how long you've been enjoying the journey with the Napoleon Hill Foundation.
Well, I've been
and how it started also.
I've been CEO 21 years. And of course, out of 350 million people in the United States, I think I got the best job.
Indeed, you have it, no doubt.
See, I have a saying, Happy, that sometimes your ship don't come in.
Uh-huh.
Who said you couldn't swim out where it was?
Ah,
I'm in a town with 3 red lights. Nobody come down here hunting for Don Green to run the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I was working as a bank president. I gave a talk to a historical society in Pound, Virginia, where Napoleon's from, about 15 minutes from here. And basically, those people didn't know who Napoleon Hill was. Of course, I had read the books and talked about him, and I was working as a bank president. I didn't need to take on nothing. But when I got home that night, I took a pad by my bedside and I wrote a note to the foundation. Of course, I had taken their course, mail order course. And I wrote them a note and told them what I'd done, so forth and so on. So I get a letter back inviting me to come have dinner with the board in Chicago.
wow.
And I did. And I couldn't wait to meet Mr. W. Clement Stone. He was chairman. And we had dinner, had lunch together at the airport, and one of the airlines had their own area, had a lunch catered into us, a friend of Mr. Stone. And he, somewhere during the thing, he said, he called me a boy. He said, boy, you know more about these books than I do. I said, I swear you do. He said, you ought to be a board member. And I said, what I need to do, Mr. Stone? And he said, tend our board meetings. And that's how it is. Nobody contacted me. I contacted them. But
Nice.
then I was served as a board member, and then I knew that they would talk about getting somebody, Mike Ritt, but the only other CEO they had, and he was up in years and couldn't travel, and his health wasn't good. And so we had an opportunity to sell the bank after I'd been a bank president for 18 years, sell the bank. And they said, well, it's a bit time for you to run the foundation. And I said, guys, I don't want to live in Chicago, but I said, I will move it to Wise, Virginia. It's the Hill's home. Can you do that? And I said, yeah, I've got office space.
Wow.
And I said, I've got the books. All I need to do is transfer the accounts. And of course, it's overwhelmed them. They cannot believe what we've accomplished. I mean, this past year was better than 2019. They said, how'd you do it? And I said, well, it starts off with attitude and just being able to see where you can go. And we're running ahead of last year, which is always our goal. It's Mr. Stone said, we do best when we're a little bit dissatisfied. In other words, never completely satisfied with the results. Always thinking, we can do a little better.
So true.
And some of us, that's what drives us. Is
exactly
desire to make improvements, and the number of people we have a positive effect on.
Fantastic. So this is great. I strongly remember Mr. W. Clement Stone's one of the story. Whenever in his organization, somebody used to say, "I got a problem," he used to say, "Aha, yes, let's hear it. What's the problem?" Because he was one of the person that used to create when you're having a problem that we are actually close to our success. So that's very, very inspirational. And also he used to say that to be enthusiastic, act enthusiastically. So that's what you do. You acted enthusiastically and you said yes to the foundation. So tell us now, let's talk about this one of the profound book in the world, Think and Grow Rich. And I do have a sign from J.B. Hill, his grandson. And I've been lucky and honored person to live on planet Earth to have his autograph. I was not born when Dr. Hill was there, but I got the personal book and also J.B. Hill's his son's autograph. So I'm lucky and honored. Now, Don, please tell us why this one profound book, like a towering giant, till over almost like 90 years, stand number one as the self-development book, Think and Grow Rich. What do you think about that, please? And tell us about that.
Well, Napoleon, he was a little different. He also was a reader. And the difference, the first the book, I would think it's self-help, you want to call it, was self-help by a guy named Samuel Smiles.
Okay.
1859. But he wrote about it. It's been a while since I read it. It's in Old English. The Watt invented the steam engine. The a man by the name of Wedgwood that invented a Wedgwood china that's used by royalty. He wrote stories like that of people who overcome adversity and stuck with it a long period of time. But the difference in Napoleon Hill, Napoleon went out and actually interviewed those people. He didn't get somewhere and just write about them with what information he gathered. He actually went and interviewed 500 and some people, always dealing with the one simple question: why are some people successful and most are not? And what, you could say, well, some of them was born that way. No, most of us wasn't born that way. And you could say, well, it's got education. No, everybody gets degrees. They wouldn't want you to truly be successful. It's different things they did. And of course, and he said, of course, he always, number one was goals or deficits or purpose. The starting point of all
achievements
was have something other that you can go to bed thinking about, wake up thinking about. In other words, something that you consider worthwhile, that you have a passion for. Because if you don't develop a passion for it, you run into an obstacle. What do most people do? They quit.
True.
And so them stories in he lined, I said, if you're really busy, you could read the second chapter on desire.
Yeah.
And pretty well cover it all. He says, what do you want? And of course, you can name what you want to, but then he says, what do you plan on giving to entitle you to what you want? He
so
said,
true.
There's no such thing as something for nothing.
Okay.
As Thomas Jefferson said, our third president said, saddest day in a person's life is when they sit down and start figuring how they can get something for nothing. So, and you know, and he tells us about making our plans. And the thing with plans, he said, the plans don't have to be good.
Yeah.
The biggest part of any accomplishment is starting.
Starting.
Where you are from what you know, and you can always get help. You can look at different plans, take different approaches at it. But the thing you don't do is you do not quit. And that's the reason I did the book and got it started on 3 Feet from Gold, that story out of Darby, that the man quit. And when he was in 3 feet of a tremendous gold, but he said he learned from it never to quit when selling insurance to a person that says no, because he learned from that his time of quitting on the gold thing. But this book will talk about what I like about it is I got this published. It's an exact copy of Napoleon Hill's first edition. Not one word's been changed. And for example, if I just open this book up on page 207, and you look up 207 on his book here in our archives, it will match word for word for word. In other words, it's got the same number of pages.
Yeah.
We had the cover designed as close as we could, because happy on the original copy, the book had at the top, for men and women who resent poverty.
Yeah.
Now that got taken off, and they put up over 2.5 million copies sold. Then 5 million copies sold, 10 million copies sold. So we went back to the original one. We wanted, because a lot of people says it's not about money.
Yes.
That's not correct. It was about money, it's midst of depression. He said he wrote it for the millions of men and women who were in poverty and in fear of poverty. And that's what held them back. So it was about money. Of course, later in his life, he saw just the money alone didn't make you happy. The last book he wrote was in 1964, that prior to his death, it was published. And it was Grow Rich with Peace of Mind, that it takes more than money. And really his writings over a period of time will show you, and it's in his quotes over and over. And in fact, as I'm working on a couple of new books, over and over, you can get from his writings that there's one way that you can have a happy life, and that's by serving other people, make someone else happy.
So true. I strongly agree on that, Don.
As long as you're concentrating on yourself, there's never enough.
So true.
Peggy Lee had that song out, Is This All There Is?
I
Oh,
know.
if I got that Mercedes, I'd be happy. If I got this Rolex watch, if I got this, it's always
Yeah.
something else. Unless you're Bill Gates or Warren Buffett,
Yeah.
you'll run out, and just things don't do it. But you have to be
So true.
involved in making a difference. Sad to say is most people leave this place, and when they're gone, they've left no footprints. What did they do? Well,
I think we don't remember. They just they die with their dreams in their head, and it's in the graveyard now. So true. Thanks for sharing this, Don Green. Now, let's talk about the second book we call Outwitting the Devil. Actually, this book came after 1937, if I'm not wrong, and it stands still monument, and it was not published till last 10 years, I believe so. Please tell us, share some light on that, why this book was hidden so far, and what was the reason, and then now it's out, what this book is mean to the world.
It was in 1938. The women objected to it, even the use of the word devil. And I had the manuscript all these years, and I had about 10 years for publishers. I said, I guess we did it in 2011. But anyway, I had the manuscript, and I'd read it. I don't know. I'd read it different times. I read it several times, and I saw the potential in it. It's dealing with one word, FEAR. That's what it's about. But, and I put the quote on it from somewhere else, fear. It's a man devil. It's the fear is between our ears.
So true.
And we create, for example, there is no such thing as stress. There is stressful thinking. We create our own stress. And, you can look at a brown spot on your hand, and you look at it and think about it long enough, you can be convinced that you got skin cancer. It's all in your head. It's not. You don't need to be careful. But we create our fears and our stress by our thinking. And there's only one thing that will cure the fear, and that's action. And action is doing something. We cannot. Our mind is complicated yet simple. It cannot hold fear and action at the same time. It'll bounce back and forth, but we concentrate on one of them. The word action is in Think and Grow Rich 77 times.
Yes.
Don't you think he's trying to tell us to do something or another?
Yeah.
And of course, how the book come about, the women objected to it on religious grounds, and I kept asking about it to Charlie Johnson, who was Hill's nephew.
Yes.
He's a cardiologist. Napoleon sent him to medical school, never paid him back. He said Napoleon didn't want the money. But I would say, he always called me Donald. Donald, them women don't want that book published. So one day I said, I'd bring it up, and sometimes we speak before we think. And this is a case on me. I was talking to him I said, Charlie, I can publish that Outwitting the Devil, and we can help a lot of kids to go to school. Donald, them women didn't want that book published. I said, Charlie, both them women are dead. And of course, one of them was his wife, and the other was his aunt, which was Napoleon's wife, Annie Lou. He said, well, looks like you're going to publish it anyway. I said, no, Charlie, I'm not. You're the chairman. I respect you. I'm not going to publish it until I get to, okay, well, go ahead.
Oh, wow.
So we published it, and I got interviewed by a guy named Alan Mark, and had a program called Industry Visions, and it's a book in itself. He called me one time to set up an interview, and he interviewed me, and we talked about Outwitting the Devil. He prayed for a press release. Our interview, word for word, was in over 200 newspapers.
Wow.
And he said, when the interview was before it's over, he said, now when the interview's over, I need you to hold on to me. I got to sign off and all, but I need to talk to you. And the guy's name was Alan Mark. And he said, you're probably wondering why I did this interview with you and why I paid for press releases. And I said, no, but I appreciate your support. He said, you've been sending my son books in prison for years.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what's his name? He told me. I said, that's not your name. He said, I had to change my name. And the story was, this young man, I believe he was 19. My wife saw the program. He was on a reality show called Jenny Jones.
Okay.
it was supposedly the first reality show, and he's on that show. They set him up a date, and I didn't see the program, but my wife did. When I went home that night, I told her, "Oh my God, I saw it." He went on a date. He met this at the restaurant. His date was a man. Okay, it was a man. So when he went back to work, he worked in a place at a furniture with young guys and refurnished furniture, and the guys made fun of him, which tore him up. So he goes home when he gets off work, goes home, gets his dad's shotgun, goes to that guy's house, and when the guy come to the door, he blowed him to bits. He killed him.
Oh.
And of course, that put the TV program off the air, and it cost somebody a lot of money. I were an advertiser to whatever, but anyway, and that young man, I kept sending him books. He got his BS degree, got his master's degree while in prison, and I don't know, he served 20 some odd years, but he was up for parole. And I wrote a letter to the parole board and told him the story, and told him, he tells me he's read over 500 books. I've sent him books over the years. He stayed in touch with me. He got 2 degrees, and I think I said, terrible accident, terrible what happened, but I think he's can be a useful member of society. And about 3 or 4 years ago, they paroled him. They actually paroled him. So that was the story. But that appeared in the newspapers, and the book hit the bestseller list right off the bat. It was done through Sterling, which is Barnes and Nobles. They didn't ship enough books to the stores, and they sold out. We were getting phone calls. Why can't I get the book? Why can't I get the book? And so a little while of getting them. It's in. Well,
It is.
I just licensed it in Russia. I've licensed it in 57 languages, I believe, so far.
Yeah, so true. And I want to say personally, thank you so much for also giving me a rights and chance to rights for the Asia to.
There's one other thing I got to add to it, Happy, and that is one day my assistant come back and says, "Don, Charlie's on the phone," which our chairman, and he always called me Don. Don, how are you? I'm okay, Charlie. What can I do for you? Well, I'm going to be speaking to a group of cardiologists, and he said, I'd like to have about 50 copies of that Outwitting the Devil sent to me to give out.
Wow.
I said, we can do that. And so we bought, and he never paid me for them, okay. I sent them out to him, but then I told my assistant, boy, for 10 years he didn't want me to publish it, and now I'm giving him 50 copies of it for free. So, anyway, it didn't surprise me because it's dealing with fear.
Yes.
And in fact, fear appears in Think and Grow 77 times. No, 73 times. Action 77. So it's mentioned almost as much as action is, because everyone has fears, but one word you need to know to conquer them, and that's action. Do something. Another.
Do something.
I saw a little clip on a news program. This old lady over in Tennessee, Unicoi, as you go over into North Carolina, and she said, when I worry, I go out and hoe in my garden because I worry while I'm hoeing. See, okay, she simply took some action. You can't reason things of fear by thinking, because you're going to think over and over, and you're going to keep exaggerating and what have you. And first thing you know, you have worried yourself sick.
So true.
Our mind can make us sick.
I know.
Also, maybe can make us well.
Good.
So the book has played a great part in people's lives.
Exactly.
And I could have got it out, but I didn't think about it. But the original manuscript's locked up in our archives, but we can't show it. It's only been out of the office twice.
Yeah.
And I took it to New York to show the PR.
Wow.
I carried it.
Incredible.
Carried it with me. When Sharon worked on it, she didn't have it.
Yeah.
We Xeroxed it and sent her a copy.
Fantastic. It should be in treasure now, and so valuable. It is one of the greatest thing on planet Earth that you have a manuscript now. And also when I was also studying for the graduation, and then proudly I become in 2019 one of the first Sikh Indian in 1.3 billion people to become a certified instructor of Napoleon Hill Foundation. And when I saw this book and you gave me this book, The Outwitting Devil, the one word which you told me, I said, where I born in poverty in barracks in Mumbai, and I was homeless twice. I said there was a lot of fear. And I said, if this book can release there in India in another movie or another digital way, that it can eliminate all the fears have people in the mind and the world too. So I strongly agree that you said word action. I took the action and you helped me to give the rights for Asia. I'm so thankful for that. Now, Don, tell us, what type of education do you think that any school doesn't teaches young adults?
Well, I got to watch about criticizing schools. I've been on university.
Well, I know, but you are there. You are one of the boards on the university, but there are certain.
But most of the people who teach are not. They're not business people. In other words, they are educated, and school, when we all went, was primarily a thing to make you memorize, to see that you learn all these historical facts, what occurred this and what occurred that. But I don't recall them stressing think of you thinking, think.
Yes.
Use your mind to do something besides memorize. I would, and they're slow to do it. I guess feel threatened, but I taught this course I call it Keys to Success rather than Think and Grow Rich at the university when I was a bank president. I just saw the need for it, and I approached the business part. I wrote a syllabus and showed what the 17 principles was, and they invited it to put it in their curriculum as a 3-hour course, provided I teach it, which I didn't mean to do, but I taught it 12 times. It's been taught more than 20 years, very popular class, and the stories of the young people, well, some older people, that because a lot of people were older that was in banking, knew me through banking. I guess curiosity to see if I was crazy or whatever. It took the class, and it's a very popular course. And so we do see changes made, and I'm working on a grant now to teach it to online to high school seniors in the area where it's depressed, the southwestern part of the state. And the fact is, that's something I gotta work on when we get through this. So with the lady that's helping me with the grant, so we can do the final touches on it, and I can sign it and get it sent off. But that's one of my goals outside of what we normally do, is to get it taught in the high schools, because some get it by reading, but once the cycle is broke, 85% of the students that go to school here need some sort of financial aid. And we provide financial aid for. We have 20 Napoleon Hill scholars that we send to school, and we've done many over the years. We keep adding a number and adding the amount of money they get, because we believe in what we're doing. But
yeah.
I wouldn't give you finish things if I didn't tell you about a book that's it's just now coming out. They never was published.
Okay.
Recently, we took the best of each one of them and chronologically and covered. And the reason I stress it is, here's what we end up with. It's called Mastermind, and the reason we call it Mastermind, Hill said it was the most important one of the principles. It's one of the short, and it's the memoirs of Napoleon Hill. It's in his own words. But let me show you something here. They were loose, and I had them bound. He called one of them "Hand of Destiny," the Napoleon Hill story, and we had it bound just to preserve it because it was just loose. And you can open it up and see he typed it himself. It's the old typewriter, which is here. You can see how old it is. Up the top it says "Hand of Destiny," the Napoleon Hill story. That's on that's his own typing. But it was just loose, and I had it bound to preserve it. You can see it's Napoleon.
So true.
Hand of Destiny, Napoleon Hill. That was he had two different ones. One he quit in 39 and then started again, and he called it Wheel of Fortune, the Napoleon Hill story. And the same way with it, we had it bound because it was just in loose thing. And you can see up the top of it, he said Wheel of Fortune, and in his handwriting,
Handwriting, yeah.
the Napoleon Hill story. But we did preserve them. But what's important about it is you'll really understand Think and Grow Rich. In this book, in his story, he told it better than anywhere. He told about writing of Think and Grow Rich. He said, in his words, he said he wrote the book with his third wife. That was Rosalie Beelan. He was working. He was working over and over. She typed it 3 times, and he tells about how they come up with cosmic habit force, covering our habits to nature. And he said that was what was missing. And she also developed transsexual mutation, and which it's a lot of people, but it's simply substituting one energy for another. And it's 2 very important parts. But he explains that in his own writing better. And we even have a letter from his son, Blair. At that time, Blair had an apartment in New York, and they stayed with him during a period of time. And in his letter, Blair said that Napoleon and Rosalie said they were working like 18 hours a day. He said he would walk the floor, dictate, and she's taking it down. But she edited the thing and typed it 3 times. So he gives her a lot of credit for helping him on the book, and we don't see that. We don't see that nowhere else. But the foreign publisher, for some reason, just put up as a pre-order. They already been contacting us wanting to buy the rights to it before we even started telling them about it. But they keep up with us. They look at our website. It's up as a pre-order. So
wow, thanks.
I know it will do well.
No, well, thanks so much for sharing this treasure to us and to the world, because millions of people out there are not aware of all this profound thing that been still preserved, and it's with us in our foundation. So thanks for sharing, and thanks for educating out us there too. Also, now, as you know personally too, most of the genius motivational speaker, authors, and personal development coaches and mentor has personally admitted that they have learned a lot of enormous amount of success secrets from the Napoleon Hill principle. But many successful the motivational speaker or personal development coach or mentor, they do practice these principles, but they do not tell that where they have adopted. What do you want to tell about this?
Well, I think in the form of integrity. To me, if you don't have integrity, you don't have nothing. I mean, to give someone else credit for their work, I think it shows the type of person you are. I mean, I don't fail to, when I say something or other, it comes up straight out of Napoleon Hill. Just like if he used a quote from mention Orson Swett Martin or some of the other writers. He read John Dewey on How to Think, and he read Elbert Hubbard and Ralph Waldo Emerson over and over. He talks about Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I think he give them credit for the other people that was before him. And it had an effect on him, and even to tell the truth about I don't know where people make it up. I had someone out there said Napoleon was so broke he sold his typewriter for $10, and I've got his typewriter, and it's sitting up off to my sit on the table, and it's an L.C. Smith. I even have a picture that shows Napoleon Hill standing by that typewriter, and I have a letter from his nephew, Dr. Charlie Johnson, said, Don, I removed these typewriters on Uncle Nap's passing, and said, I think they belong to you. And he got them to me. So I don't know where people get their information.
So true. I have seen that typewriter during my education in West Virginia when I was studying there. And one day you given us tour. I strongly remember we have seen that typewriter. We click pictures and all. Now this is great. Don, tell us, during this time when success is available for everyone on planet Earth, why still only few people succeed in life?
I don't think they have a driving passion or purpose, or like a wandering. He compared them to tumbleweeds or wandering derelicts. They go from one thing to another, and they've never developed a definite of purpose, something or another that they really, really want to do, that they want to accomplish in their life. And they have a tendency to go from one thing to another. And those people later in life are be the same people that says, well, that people, rich people, they're dishonest, or it's give to them, or what have you. And I use a quote in a book. I've got a book coming out in February called Millionaire Mindset. It's Don Green. It's just me. It's already up as a pre-order. And Victor Hugo, the writer, said, it's not that people were planning on failing.
Okay.
They simply failed to plan.
Aha, I love that. That's an incredible.
That's it. I mean, get up for a day. My first, I got a index card on my table where I ate my oatmeal or cereal, and it just says simply, God, show me someone I can help today in Jesus' name, amen. So
yes.
I'm going to make sure that the day's not over, and I've not sent someone a book or wrote somebody a note or done something or another that hopefully made the world a little better. But people don't have anything worthwhile. But it's in easier. But if you want to see somebody that's on the road to failure, just listen to someone who's making excuses. Okay?
Yeah.
Mr. Stone said, you got a problem? Great. We get paid for solving problems. Solve problems means you got opportunity. And if everything was going right, you have to think and look for things that could be made better, or made cheaper, or made more convenient, or whatever. Because there's only one way you can make money, and that's selling something. Either sell goods or services. If you can paint, sing, tell jokes, write books, or whatever, you got a service you can sell, or you make a hula hoop or a better mousetrap or whatever. You got to sell something or other.
Something.
What we're doing is we're selling ourselves. We're selling ourselves. Until you discover that, why should someone turn loose their money and give it to you if you don't have nothing that they value more than they value their money? So it's an exchange, agreeable exchange. They want what you've got to offer them more than do that amount of money, and people never discover it. I mean, it's just I was going to lunch with a business partner, and one of his by the way, he was in my first class. He sold his stores, little convenience stores, out for $45 million. He took my course. It's only one college course he took as a night course. But anyway, a man I'd seen before, and we just passed him, and he said, asked him how he's doing, and my buddy asked him, said, "You ever get you a job?" No. He said, "Well, where all have you applied?" "Nowhere." He said, "Nobody's hiring." So that guy's probably not going to have anything good happen.
It's so true. I agree.
Nobody's going to come in, knock on your door, grab you and say, "Happy boy, have I got something for you."
No.
You know, it's a saying.
That's true. So true.
Don't come in, go swim out where it is. Nobody says you can't swim out there where it is. So you've got to put some effort out and develop it into something. And I did fundraising with Zig Ziglar before at a member of the Christian college up in Pennsylvania one time, and he had this thing saying, "How bad do you want it?"
I love it. Do you want it?
And that answers a whole lot, because it's something that is, well, I don't really care about that anyway. My wife said I was wasting my time, and so forth. I mean, you have to develop the attitude like Edward Barnes. He said, "This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to partner with a great Edison." That was it. I mean, hobos are trained. His wife said, he ain't going to say you. Why should he be dealing with you and all? But he didn't. No. He didn't take that. He was convinced that what did he do? He wanted it bad enough to potentially make a fool out of himself, and then up scrubbing toilets and scrubbing the floor.
Yes.
Just to
convince Edison.
Edison was just testing him out, and that was the only partner he ever had. And we got a stack of letters from Barnes in our files, handwritten, big old letters. He called it, he had a nickname for Napoleon. He called him Nap the Sap. SAP.
Nab the sap.
Yeah, and I never met Edwin, but Mike Ritt, who was for me, he went to Florida and visited with him and whatever. But we got lots of. In fact, I've been gathering those letters and putting that
So
stuff
true.
in notebooks so people can thumb them and look at them,
Yeah.
put them in plastic and preserve them. But we got, I don't know, there's a dozen letters from
Fantastic. Thanks, Don, for sharing. And Edward Seaborn, he was one of my great an icon too. When he has nothing, but he went with his mission in his head. He was so clear that he wanted to not to only work with Edison, but he wanted to become a business partner of Thomas Edison, the greatest inventor of the world. That was the passion. I really liked that when I heard about his story. That really inspired me. And in my personal life, and I went through that so many stages that I wanted to do business with the biggest entrepreneur and millionaires, and I have no capacity to rub shoulder with them right on the first day. So I worked with scratch, work for whatever the cleaning and maintaining and being assistant and all. And I've been a business partner with most world successful people, and I'm on the board of director too. So I agree with that. Okay, Don, now let's do this round we call Make the World Happy round. So your short and sweet answers will be highly appreciated on that. Okay. All right. So first one is, how do you define success?
Success, to me, it is simply something that you have a desire for within your mind. That Ben Sweetland's quote, success is a journey, not a destination. It's more important what you become during that process, type of person you are. That simply made the world a little better place, which is our motto, making the world a better place in which to live. If it's only accumulation of a goal or getting so much money, then what else? Oh, I mean, I got a gold Rolex, a black Mercedes, and $1 million in the bank. And is that all there is? No, it's a type of person we become is the important part. And to me, that's success. It's doing something other that you want to accomplish at the same time, making this world a better place to live, with always in mind is the only way you're ever going to be happy is when you find a sincere way to serve other people.
So profound, Don. That's a very meaningful and inspiring message you have given regarding the success. It's nothing what you only just achieve, which is also great, but what you become during that achievement's great. Next, tell us one thing that world doesn't know about Dr. Napoleon Hill.
One thing that the world don't know about.
I know there will be million things yet, but one of the things that can
in this book, Mastermind, the nuts and bolts of how he wrote Think and Grow Rich and the help that he had. That's one of the things, and I think the profound effect he had on the world, that was always his goal, and he didn't mind his failures. You know, he had more failures than he had successes, but it's I think Michelangelo's quote comes into mind to me. He said, "It's not that we make too large of goals and fail. It's that we make too smaller ones that succeed. So no goal is too big to work at." And he was a dreamer. He was not a good business person, I would say, because his attention was somewhere else. And we see that oftentimes in people that's heavily dedicated to medicine or one field that they don't finances doesn't interest them. But his last marriage in 1943 to Annie Lou, and I got a real neat book out of her stuff just a couple of years ago. Yeah. He gave her a book which he's taken his class in 1941. He signed it to Annie Lou Norman. Norman was her last name, Norman. And then 2 years later, December 23rd, 1943, he dated it and signed it again. And that was the day before they got married. Got married on Christmas Eve. He said, "You had the author, and now you got the book." That was in personal belongings, and so I put it in the archives so people can see it. But he had no financial problems from the year 1943. Because Annie Lou had been an office manager for a book publisher, and she ran the office, and she was financially well off. She ran his finances from 43 to 70 till he died. when he died in 1970, she
Yes.
lived to 1984.
Yes. This one here, sorry. Sorry about that.
But when she died in 1984, I have her will. She had more than $1 million. She had lived. She had lived from 70 to 84 on his money, and in addition, she had all these books. And she, more than anyone, is due the credit for keeping the Napoleon Hill Foundation going. Because originally it was just three of them, the attorney and them, had set the thing up, and she worked diligently and put all his books and all in that foundation. She didn't have to do that. She could have sold them things for a fortune, but she still had more than $1 million in cash, and plus her home and all, when she died after living 14 years and not without working. So he did not die broke, from what so many people know. So many
doesn't know about that. Yeah.
and
Great.
yeah, he did have a lot of failures, but so did Walt Disney. But he went through the Depression. He went through two world wars, and considering his background and what he accomplished, what he left the world, I think is very, very, very great. Very great.
Very grateful. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing this insight and what people didn't know about that. Thanks, John. Now, tell us, is personal development is important or financial development is important? What comes first?
Well,
Now, a lot of time people in this world, they're running behind money and fame and power, but they lack to do their improvement in their personal development. What would you grade?
Well, I think both of them is extremely important. I mean, but the personal development, you know, if you don't have integrity,
Yeah.
I think the money doesn't matter, because if money is your only goal, well, you can probably get by selling drugs, illegal drugs, and make a lot of money, and you know, you may get by for a long, long time. But yeah, to me, if you don't have integrity, you don't have nothing.
So true.
To me, I mean, we're just extremely careful who we associate with, who we
Yeah.
don't throw our name out there and let people borrow
So
it
true.
and whatever. It's the integrity, and
Yep.
and of course the money is important, because Zig joked about money. He said people said money's not important. They lie about anything. Money is important. So
Yeah.
much of the stuff that's done, whether it's research, medical research, or tuition for young people to go to college, it takes money's not everything, but it's the next oxygen.
Next option. Yeah.
It's hard to live a good life without it. So it's important. But if you get the money that through the loss of your personal integrity, I think you're a complete flop.
Flop. Yeah. So true. I strongly agree on that. Now, Don, tell us what makes you happy every day.
Well, every day knowing that I'm going to be able to do some good. I mean, I absolutely love what I'm doing. I still get thrilled to see it. Well, okay, right here's one I just laid down. There's a little Think and Grow Rich, published in. We did a little book, Think and Grow Rich in 10 Minutes a Day. This is published by. I just laid it down here. It's published by Wiley in Germany.
Yeah.
And I still thoroughly get these books. We asked in our contract for two books, so we open them up and see if our copyright's inside of them.
Yeah.
And I just love it. They design their own covers. I see. Here's my friend Marcial in Brazil.
Yes.
This is Outwitting the Devil.
Outwitting the Devil. Yeah.
You can a lot. It's published by my friend Marcial, and it was the best when it after been a while. It was the best-selling book in Brazil.
Yeah.
It's sold tremendously. Of course, he's also published. It's also published in Spanish. But see, I like to see in that.
Yeah.
Because what they do with the cover. Some of them has absolutely nothing to do with the cover. And his friend that teaches our courses, Jamil. That's his magazine. He calls his group Mastermind, And of course, they work together because on this one,
Yes.
it's in it's in Portuguese, but somewhere or another, he's got about 250 people that works for him, and of course, you can see ours, Marcel. There's a bunch of our books published.
Yes.
He's advertised in that. He's advertised.
That's great.
In that magazine.
Great. I love that your happiness is related to the achievement and continued progress towards the Napoleon Hill's saying, and Dr. Hill's spreading his wisdom and all. Okay, next question. What do you love most? You have to choose one. Love, sex, money, or fame?
Well, absolutely. There's nothing to replace love. I mean, reading a good book or what have you. Love.
Love, you will choose that.
It's the most important word in our language is love. Love one another and so forth. And you got to love yourself before you love others. If you don't think well of yourself, you can't think well of other people either.
Fantastic.
That's
what you choose.
What we're striving for is love.
Exactly.
And you know, and love what you do, and you never have to work. I mean, you know, I'm if I'm not traveling or anything, we're not open on Saturday. I'll come out here and work a few hours. Nobody knows I'm here. Nobody knows.
Excellent. Excellent.
That's all I know. And I'm loving every minute of it. And I'll come in on Sunday sometime after church and come out here and work sometime 30 minutes, see what my emails is, maybe sometime an hour or 2 hours. And of the night I'm writing or something other on a book, I try to go to bed at 10:30. But if I don't watch, I'm at 11, and it goes on past that, and I'm still doing what I'm doing. I just can't make myself quit. And like last night, I was editing the last 50 some pages of a book, and I had my mind was I'm not going to bed until I finish this. And so I brought it in this morning, edited for my assistant to go in and make the changes in the PDF file. So we can the publishers, because normally you don't just do a book and go. Some of them I probably went through 8 or 10 times, but all of them's went through 3 or 4 times, and plus our attorney has edited at least a couple times before we feel good to send it out to the publisher. But you just enjoying what you're doing. You know,
lovely, love. I'm on the same page, so high five with that. Thanks. Now, tell us, what is the one lucrative advice ever you got?
Well, my social media's put a nice sign up on my entrance to my office, and it says there's 2 ways we can learn. One is from books, and the other is from being around smarter people. Don Green. I said, I said, you've told me 1,000 times. Well, I borrowed it kind of from the old cowboy Will Rogers. He said something very similar to that, but that's it. You start thinking is, how else can you learn? When I said books, I took audio books. But see, if you don't read nothing, you're already behind. And then if you're all around smart people, smarter than you are, who are you going to learn from? See, that we do a lot of prison work, but the prison work's not hard to analyze. Those men and women go into prison. So many of them return again. You know why? They go back to the same friends they had when they went in. It got them in trouble to start with.
So true.
You can't change your physical environment much, your height and your color of your eyes and your hair. You get that from your parents and your grandparents. But our social environment we grew up in, we can change that. You know, we can change that. But so many people, they get comfortable of being unsuccessful. I mean, it may be a pressure for some people to live up to certain standards and so forth. But again, it comes down to how bad you want it. But
you want it.
That's the reason recidivism is so rate.
So true. I agree, both. So nice. Now, tell us, what is the one worst advice you have ever got?
The worst what?
One of the worst advice you have got.
Well, when I tell people, when I invest, and I hear people say I was on a cruise and tell you to, if you got a stock that's made 20%, you should sell it and take your profits and not risk losing it. But the biggest risk in life is taking no risk at all. So if you bought Microsoft at $30 a share and it got to 40, you're supposed to sell it. No, you just held on to it and you see it hit $300 a share. And I could say the same thing about Apple, and I could say the same thing about Amazon. So you have to consider the advice of other people, but you have to learn to make your own decisions. I mean, I follow Warren Buffett and Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, but in the end, I make my own decisions because even if some of them are wrong, I learn from them rather than taking advice from someone that may not be successful, or people's opinions, or,
Yes.
or their ideas.
Yeah.
And I would say I've done pretty well.
Fantastic. I agree on that, Don. Thanks for sharing. Now, this question is imagination. Okay. Imagine if God makes you a woman for a day, what would you do more of and less of?
Well, I grew up in a family, a wife and a daughter, no sons. And I have a loving to work around women because in baking, I had mostly women. I found women in general, you can't say it's all the time because I got a wonderful assistant who's been with me since he was in 8th grade, who is a wonderful, wonderful young man. He's 25. I started him at $10 an hour in 8th grade. But we, women, I think, try harder. They try harder. And because they have to, they still, you can call it a glass ceiling or whatever. I don't think women are still, they still don't have the opportunities that men do. And I think there's a lot of good women that are role models. Sometimes women don't like to work for other women. They'd rather work for a man. But I think that's it. I think they made lots of improvements on the world, but there's a long way to go. And you can study economics in the countries where the women don't have as many rights as they have here. Without fail, I think they won't have as good economy.
Yeah.
Just think, if you remove half the population from being able to contribute, how can you expect as good results if you got both sides working? So, but
No.
we're making steps, but we're not there yet.
No, thanks for sharing. That's a very profound thinking behind that. It's so generous of you, Don. Now, this is also imagine question. Now, imagine if you would be the host of this show and if I would be the guest of the show, what question would you ask me?
Well, one of them is what gets you up in the morning out of the house? What drives you, and what do you intend to accomplish, and what's your idea on giving back, and sharing with others, and such things as how many people have you had a positive influence on your life? I don't care whether they're young people or old people, and how would you like to be remembered? When you're laying on a weight, do you want somebody to say, "Boy, old Happy, he had money in 7 banks and he had 4 cars and 3 houses"? Boy, that would be that's not nice. I'm thinking someone surely walk by and say, "I wonder how many young people he helped get a college education."
Yeah,
something or other that made a difference after you're gone.
Good. Well, this is a very profound question, Don, and I want to answer very sensibly in my senses, which I personally feel since childhood that my major purpose of my life is serving others. And I've been very passionate server. I have served in many different areas in industry, passionately, positively, and friendly. And I reached to the stage that I think I cannot give any more seminars or workshop, which I've given enormous, probably tens of thousands of seminar and workshop and classes I've done so far. But I found this wonderful platform, this platform of podcasts. So I believe I can reach millions and millions of people around the world with this platform to bring most successful plus and yet happiest people like you to share their stories with the world, so that they know this show, the Happy Conversation, is not about only just education, fame, money, power, or wealth. It's all about happiness. So I found this platform is one of my major reasons right now that I want to leave my legacy to continue forward onwards, when I'll be gone from Mother Earth, somebody else will carry on and will do that to share the happiest people's story. It's not about money. It's not about also fame and power. It's the happiness we found in the job or in the love or the relationship. So my answer to you is, I'm doing this show to serve others, to make them more happy wherever they are and whatever they can do by listening to stories of profound people like you.
Well,
Okay.
I appreciate it. We can take up on this again. It will be sometime up in the middle of October because I'm working on some grant things, and we can take up from here and do it again because I truly enjoy it. But I'm on a schedule, so
Yeah, sure. And but just on a last word, well, I really appreciate your thing. I will discuss it on phone too. Just last two questions, quickly one. What is your favorite word or your quote?
ASK.
Ask. I love that. Always seeking knowledge. I love it.
You're not have to receive something if you don't ask for it.
Yeah, I love that. Now, last question of the show, Don. What is your message to the beautiful people of the world?
Well, they can make a difference about what they, not only what they think, but what they plan and what they execute, and never underestimate the capabilities that what they can accomplish, and don't sell themselves short. And all these, they can have all these heroes they want to, but all these people they admire. Why can't they be one of them too? Just find out what they're doing. If you're just going to learn how to bake a cake, you watch some lady bake a cake and see what she done. That's what we study success principle. If we study what other people done and we apply what they've done, we kind of think that we get the same results or similar. It was Einstein that said doing the same thing over and over but expecting different results is the definition of insanity. So if we're not getting exactly what we want, maybe we should do more study to what these other people did. If we're what they took in school, what they read. When people don't read, I mean, just think how far they're behind. Mark Twain said it best: people don't read are no better off than people can't read. With all this worlds of information of thousands of years, so cheap and so accessible, and you just are going to ignore it all. We have to take and analyze it and what part of it we can use and use it. Don't mean we have to follow it, but we can at least consider it. We can think about it, and if we see it's work for other people, just maybe it's worth our effort also.
Fantastic, Don. Thanks so much for your wonderful message to the beautiful people of the world. And thanks, really, really appreciated. You shared your personal story, Dr. Hill's story, and the foundation story, and all the wonderful people around and quotes and all. We really appreciate time. Maybe definitely with time is running on, we will do one more round some other day. But I want to say thanks to the wonderful audience that being with us today, supportive. And thanks, Don Green, for coming on the Happy Conversation Idea Show with me as your humble host, Happy Bains. I really thank you personally for being my mentor and my friend, and also allowing me to do best for the Outwitting the Devil in India as well, and Asia country. Thanks so much, Don. God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah, I truly enjoy it. We will do it again, okay?
Sure. Thank you. Take care.
Okay.